What's going on, guys? And behind me is my dad's Mustang. It's a 1992 Fox body we've been working on the past few weeks, getting it ready to go. We put forged internals in the engine last week and assembled everything along with a big turbo, new manifold, all that cool stuff. This week we're gonna be putting in an intercooler, doing some routing, some exhaust work, just a little bit, and building a drive shaft so that we can get this thing plugged up into a standalone and working. It's crazy to think about. It's been such a long build, but I'm very excited to show you guys today's video. We will get the car started today, I can promise you that. And we're gonna build some really, really cool stuff as well. I hope you guys are pumped for this one. Let's get to work. All right, I'm not sure where this is coming in our grand scheme of building this car, but we've got the motor ready to go and we got the transmission in. One of the major issues we ran into is that this year turbo coupe, so 87, 88 turbo coupe, used a hydraulic clutch master and slave cylinder, and none of the other T5s did. So everything else was manual, just cable operated, and for whatever reason Ford decided to go with a hydraulic clutch on the Thunderbird turbo coupe for just for the 87 and 88 year. Now the downside of that is it's impossible to find parts. So a lot of modification, a lot of issues. What I'm holding in my hand is our mount that we created for our master cylinder. So do you have the master cylinder over there? This slides over the master cylinder. It'll screw into the firewall to hold the master cylinder in place. It's kind of a clamp system. And then we'll be mounted. We've got to find a hose still for this master cylinder because it's just been impossible to find. We're gonna use our little blue mount that I made and mount the master cylinder into the firewall. Make sure it works with the pedal and everything. Mount our slave cylinder down there by the transmission. And then it is gonna be time for us to hoist the engine up, lower it down into the car, bolt it to the bell housing, and start plugging everything up. Lots of exciting stuff happening today, but first we're gonna get this air box out. We do not have to run the mass airflow anymore, which is pretty awesome. So we're gonna run probably just a filter on the end of the turbo and use this for something pretty cool, which is right there. This is an intercooler. It's a side mount intercooler from an Audi, I think, maybe a VW. It's an upgraded version. You can see it's super thick. We're gonna try to run this where the air box is to save space. We'll see if it works. If not, we can move it somewhere else. That's gonna make it very easy for us to route our hoses and stuff, and it's just gonna be really neatly packaged. So we may put it there and build a shroud around it or something to get air to go through. I don't know, we'll figure that out. We don't need a ton of air to go through. We're not gonna be running crazy power levels on this thing, but we did wanna have something to kind of help cool off that charged air. And then we also got one of these. This is a wastegate. It's an 8-pound external, obviously 38 millimeter. It's what our turbo calls for. And we're gonna have to bolt this on, and then we're gonna have to make a little downpipe thing for that outlet. We've got flanges for that. I've got some tubing that we can use, and we'll kind of run that down for now, and eventually later we'll tie it into the exhaust when we get the exhaust built. let's put it together.
All right, here we go. It is the moment of truth. Now, what we're gonna do with this one, and it may not make sense, I don't know, maybe it will, but we're going to basically run this thing naturally aspirated. Now, the turbo is obviously mounted on the side, but we don't have anything plumbed yet. We've got our wastegate on, but we just wanna get this thing running again, mainly because we rebuilt the whole engine. So the pistons and rods are the same but different.
Same, but different. But still same.
They are forged, but it's the same everything else. We've never taken an engine all the way down. We know the engine runs on this ECU with this setup. So what we're gonna do is run the engine on the ECU that's in there, the stock one, just to get it running, listen for weird sounds, see what happens. Hopefully nothing blows up. Assuming that goes well, then we will do our aftermarket ECU, which I think will be in the next video, because we've still got to do our intercooler piping, we got to put our radiator on, we've got to get our downpipe on. So there's some things that have to be done really before the aftermarket ECU even does anything, honestly. So the plan is to just try to get it running first. We'll know the engine's right, we'll know it's running, and then we'll go into actually doing the aftermarket ECU, setting up our tune, all that good stuff that's going to make this car actually fast. But basically what this is going to do is just limit the things that we have to try to diagnose. We're using as many working things as we know. That way when we do go into the ECU, the custom ECU and custom everything else, we'll be able to kind of pinpoint where our problems are, because we will have problems. All right, so it is time to get this engine to start and hopefully idle. What we're going to do today is we're going to get our new radiator in. We ordered a radiator we ordered a new radiator for this car that should keep up with all the new performance upgrades, so that's really cool to have that supporting mod. We're going to get the car to idle and just see if it'll idle on the old ECU, and then we're going to start plumbing up all of the things that need to be plumbed now. So our intercooler piping, our new intercooler, I don't think the exhaust isn't here yet. It might get here in this video, but if it does get here, we'll plumb that up. We'll run our coolant lines, all the stuff that needs to be run and hooked up for this car to run. Let's do it. This is our new all aluminum 3-row radiator with custom fan shroud and electric fans. This is a really cool upgrade for this car. Some of these cars have an issue with is getting too hot and it causes the heads to crack. So we were told that it's very important to keep the thing cool, and I think this is gonna do just that. We modified our brackets just a little bit for it to fit. Just picked this up off eBay for like 110 bucks. It was on sale, and I think it's gonna be awesome for our car. So I'm gonna drop this in real quick, and then we'll be ready to go on the next step of this process. All right, so our radiator is in. We've ordered some lines that should be here later today, and I think the next thing that we're gonna do is connect our old air intake box and try to get this thing to fire up and run. Just get some oil through the engine, listen to it run, make sure it doesn't sound kind of crazy, and then we'll start working on plumbing up our turbo system. All right, let's go.
Ready?
Yeah. Okay, that's good. We got a fire. We need to put our wastegate on. Well, we had to pull our whole turbo manifold off because of this. I dropped a screw in it. Rookie mistake. But we also found a C-clip in there, so that's good. And we also learned that all of this has to be assembled pretty much to go into the car. So that means that our
wastegate and stuff will go on off the car and then go in. Now another thing we learned, which is huge bummer, is that I accidentally ordered our downpipe from China. And the reason that's a bummer is it's taking 28 days to get here. So I ordered it 2 weeks ago, a little over, when I was ordering the rest of the stuff for this car. Everything else is here, downpipe isn't. And I try not to order stuff from China because of the shipping and customs and all that stuff, and it just ruins builds. So I've got to figure out what to do now. I was just ordering so much stuff, I wasn't paying attention to where it was coming from. But this is clean now. We'll put this back together. We can put it back in the car and get the car to run. Fun times, just fun times. All right, so while we come up with a plan for the turbo situation, which I think is gonna just end up being a custom downpipe, and we'll just count everything else as a loss, we are going to work on mounting our reservoir. Now we're using the master cylinder and slave cylinder from the turbo coupe, and Ford only used this setup for 2 years. We didn't realize that when we started all of this, and so it has been hard finding parts. We ended up finding a braided clutch feed line, which is awesome. Some guy at AutoZone helped us out. It was really great because we could not find one anywhere for that setup. Made our own bracket. I think we showed that on video for the clutch. Master cylinder, connected that to the pedal, and now we need a reservoir because the reservoir is not connected to the master cylinder. There's just too much going on right here. So we picked up this Willwood one, and we just got the hose on that's gonna feed this, or this is gonna feed through. So now we gotta find a place to mount this up so that we can feed fluid to our reservoir, or fluid to our master cylinder to the slave cylinder to the clutch, and we can have a driving car. All right, we just got back from the exhaust shop. We did not have any of those flanges that we needed. So I ordered one, it's coming. It'll be here in a couple of days, which is awesome. I don't know when our downpipe will get here, probably never. So we're going to build a custom downpipe, which I think is gonna work better anyway, because after looking at that other downpipe, I think the O2 sensor is a little bit too close to the exhaust port of the turbo. So we'll build a custom one. Our exhaust man, Lee, is gonna help us out with that, getting the right bend and everything in it. And that'll be good, but that's gonna be in, I guess, the next episode, because it's just gonna take more time. But we have one win for today, 2 wins. The radiator's in and it looks awesome. And the master cylinder reservoir for the clutch system is in, which means our clutch system is all the way built now. So we can put fluid in it and bleed it and test our clutch out. We're not gonna do that because I'm not gonna press my luck today. But what we're gonna do next is we're going to go to the radiator. We have some stock lines. This radiator is supposed to be for a Mustang, but the year range was like 69 to 93. So we've got some stock lines. I'm hoping that they work. If they do, we're gonna call it a win, we're gonna call it a day, and we'll count it as a victory for the day. Let's see if these things fit. Is this the upper?
Yep. Yep.
Is that how it goes?
Yep.
There. I was like, the gearbox is in the way, but just rest that up there.
2 clamps.
Hey, that's good news right there, because that is mounted. Let's go.
Does this matter if it goes up or down? How does this, like on this gasket, there's a ridge. Does it go up or down? Does it matter?
Yeah, that's
Down,
what I'm thinking.
like that.
That's what I was thinking, yeah. Because the air is going to push this way. That's the way. Kind of shimmy it.
Get another one to put in the top on the other side.
All right, so we are back to where we were a couple of days ago, except this time our wastegate is installed, though not hooked up to the turbo. Our V-band adapter is installed. Our downpipe's not in yet because can't find the V-band clamp I ordered. And that's pretty much the only differences. But everything's set up now for us to be able to build out our turbo system completely, like our intercooler and everything else. So we're gonna do before we do our new ECU and all that other cool stuff, is we're gonna get it to idle and just run on its own, hopefully, on the stock ECU. Everything's basically the same as far as the engine knows. We've just got a turbo strapped on one side of it that's not running to anything. So we'll see if we'll get it to idle. If we will, if it does, then it means we did the rebuild right. You guys that maybe weren't here on the first video or the video where we rebuilt the engine, we've never taken an engine apart. So we're very hopeful that this thing just runs again. Luckily we had our buddy Ryan here to help us put it back together, so we think that it's gonna be okay, but we just don't know. Let's try to start it.
All right, ready to go when you are.
Fire in the hole!
Yep. Okay. Yeah, if I yell or...
Runs!
It runs. We built an engine.
It runs.
And it worked. I don't know if it runs well, but it runs. Yeah. Heck yeah, dude. That is cool.
Yes.
Awesome. Awesome, awesome. We had an exhaust on it so it didn't sound so much like a boat.
It smells like a boat too. It smells like that two-stroke. We'll just try it one more time and then we can start building our turbo stuff. Turbo's spinning, making air. Your alternator does work, so that's good. Let's see if we got any charge on the battery. 11.7, going down quick. Now it's all the way, yeah. That's a bad battery. Heck yeah, dude. That is cool. Do you want to watch the turbo spin?
Nah.
You sure?
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. I put my hand over it, it's pumping air out. Pumping cold air out, which is so weird to me. You know, like, it's not hot air.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right, man. High five. That was awesome.
Step one.
That worked. I can't believe it. We took the whole engine apart and put it back together and it runs. All right, the car runs. This is awesome. The turbo spins. It produces boost, which is just awesome, awesome, awesome. We're still on the stock ECU. We'll take care of that in the next episode. And then we're also going to plumb our turbo. We've got a full kit to run our intercooler. We'll mount our intercooler, plumb the turbo, maybe throw the exhaust on if the V-band comes in. I guess we will have to if we're gonna run the new ECU. Put in our wideband. We got a pretty sick wideband setup going in this thing, and our standalone ECU that we got for it, which is just awesome. I don't know if we'll get into tuning in that video, but we'll definitely get into running. And then we've got to get a drive shaft found or made for this car so that we can actually drive it. Very, very close. Like 4 things are on our list of things to do before this thing is running and driving again. We're also going to redo the entire interior, but that'll be its own video. All right, that's a wrap. That's a win. That's a huge win.
That's huge.
You're right, we need to stop before we lose again.
Yeah.
Next is gonna be everything else. So the first thing we've got to do is actually plumb our turbo. We'll get our turbo actually running into the engine, put our filter on, intercooler, all that cool stuff. And then we're gonna swap our ECU out with a standalone ECU, a plug and play ECU from Stinger Performance. And that is gonna allow our engine to know what's going on when it starts receiving boost. So that's pretty cool. We're gonna get that in, and hopefully a drive shaft in this video. I don't know. We're gonna try to get as much done as we can. But the first thing we gotta do before anything else is get the turbo and intercooler system plumbed. So I think that's gonna be today's job. Let's do it.
We placed this before we had a radiator hose in there. All right, so we've got kind of 2 options right now. We wanted to mount it up in the top, but with our radiator and everything in place, there's just not enough room. So we've got 2 options. I think I know which one we're gonna have to go with. The
first is right here, kind of behind the radiator in this area. You can see we've got tons of space in front of the engine, so there's space for it, but getting all the plumbing down there is gonna be a challenge. The next place is pretty common place for like German cars, and it's right here. There's kind of a big hole behind the bumper, and I think it'll fit right there, but we're gonna have to move some stuff out of the way. So we're gonna look around just a little bit more and see if we can figure out a place to put our intercooler. So this is very exciting. Look at that placement. I cut back the fender well here, and that gives us a spot to kind of slot this up into place, which I know what you're wondering. Obviously this is gonna go under that frame rail and up, but where's the other one gonna go? Oh, let me show you. Right there. There's a factory hole. I'm assuming people use for cold air intakes. The factory probably used it for an air intake. And our port comes up right there. We'll come out, over to the turbo. This will come up, phone is ringing, into the intake. Good to go, let's build some out. Our ACU lets us run no MAF, so we're gonna go full hot boy and just throw a filter right onto the end of the turbo. I found the smallest filter I could find, and it actually fits in there really awesome. Should sound killer. All right, so this is what we just made underneath the car. This is a factory Audi intercooler. Well, it's an upgrade to the factory Audi intercooler. And so the mounts for it are not universal type mounts. They're very specific for a very specific chassis. So we made this little triangle bracket. It has to be bolt-on, so the intercooler is removable, and it sits in the car just like that. And the intercooler actually mates up, wow, right where that hole is. Cool, that was unplanned. So it's just tacked together very loosely, so I'm gonna go ahead and finish weld all of this, make it solid, and we'll trim it, clean it up a little bit, and then we'll be ready to bolt the intercooler into the car, and we will have an intercooler mounted in a very good location for our little car. Very exciting stuff. So you go underneath the car, and we're gonna flip around, so stick with me here. So now the front of the car is at the bottom of the camera. That's our little triangular bracket. You can see we just used 2 stock mounting points to mount it. Super solid. And then just made a triangle to our mount there. So that's where it's mounted in one spot. There's another tab for a mount there, but I don't think we need it. And then if you go up to the top of the car, we made this little tab right here that's just welded into the car. Cut this hole open and our port comes out right here. The bottom port comes out right underneath the frame rail, right here. So it comes out right there. We'll come out here and then come up, and this one will come out through the fender well, which is pretty cool setup. We have air gap in the front, so there's plenty of space for air to run and go through the intercooler. And then there's an air gap in the back before the fender well, so there's plenty of place for air to escape out the back of it, which is awesome. And the fender well is covering it so we won't kick rocks up into it and damage the intercooler. I think this is a really good setup. It was completely accidental, but it's gonna work out really awesome. So now we've got to run our intercooler piping. And I think the first one we're gonna do is this one, because it's gonna be most simple from the turbo to here. And then we'll have to come out and around and up to the top of the engine to our intake. Should be fun. So we've been hung up on the drive shaft issue with this car, namely that the four cylinder comes with a smaller drive shaft, meaning a smaller yoke, and so our transmission wouldn't mate to the drive shaft, and the turbo coupe drive shaft's too long.
So we thought we were gonna have to have one shortened. We thought we were gonna have to find one in a junkyard, but all of that is actually kind of expensive. These things are getting really hard to find at junkyards, and we were gonna have to drive far to go get one. But we found a U-joint that had 2 different lengths. So one length matches the 4-cylinder Ford, the other length, or Mustang, the other length matches the turbo coupe yoke. And so this is actually like an oblong U-joint, and that allowed us to put the turbo coupe transmission yoke on the Mustang drive shaft, which means now we should be able to just slot this into the car and have running gear again, which is pretty awesome, So that saved us a heap of money. I mean, I think we were like $36 in the U-joints, and all kinds of time too. We didn't think this was gonna happen today, so pretty stoked about that. We're gonna throw it in the car after we get everything else done. And that is it. We got the intercooler in, we got it all plumbed, we got our radiator in, we got it all plumbed, we got our drive shaft in, and it is working, and this car is ready to go. So in the next episode, we're gonna be installing our ECU from Singer Performance. It is a full plug and play. We will be able to tune every single part of the car, which I'm pretty nervous about. We're gonna run into some issues, just fair warning, but we are going to get it done, and it is going to be very, very sick. This is the first time we've filmed as a whole series kind of in advance, so it's been a little weird, been kind of hard to edit, so bear with me. I think the next one will be a lot better, but it's been a learning curve. But I'm so stoked with how this thing's coming out. It's looking extra, extra sick, and I'm so excited to hear some turbo noises in the next video. But we are actually going on an impromptu trip to SEMA this week, so this video, I don't think we're gonna have a Mustang video on Saturday, this coming Saturday. We may have to take a whole week off. I may put something else out that I've been working on. But for now, I'm gonna say we're taking a week off because SEMA wasn't really planned. We ended up getting an opportunity to go, so we're gonna go. If you're gonna be at SEMA, look for me. I'll be in a built shirt every day, so just try to find me. I don't know where I'm gonna be. I'm gonna try to meet some of the brands we've worked with on the channel and see some builders that I really look up to that I'd love to just meet and check out. So we may do a SEMA video. I don't really know, but I'm just letting you know this is completely unplanned. It's kind of throwing a wrench in our schedule, but I couldn't pass up the opportunity to go to SEMA. I hope you guys are enjoying this build. I'm working on another one over there. The MG is in the paint shop. As soon as it gets back, I'm going to show it to you, so don't worry. It is being worked on. It's getting flattened out. It's gonna look really, really sick. Lots of stuff going on, lots of moving parts, but yep, we're moving, so that's great. You'll get to see this thing rip next week or 2 weeks from now when we get it all tuned and all that cool stuff. It does sound really, really awesome. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll see you in the next one.